Mr. Speaker, it is with great pleasure that I rise to give my support and contribution to Budget 2023. Aptly themed, Improving Lives Today, Building Prosperity for Tomorrow, which was once again prepared and presented to this Parliament by Minister with Responsibility for Finance, the Honorable Dr. Ashni Kumar Singh.
Thank you, Pierre. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, Minister Singh and his committed and hard-working team from the Ministry of Finance have contributed and continue to deliver for us and our country by preparing budgets that continue to steer us on the trajectory set forth by our PPPC government to transform Guyana and touch the lives of every single Guyanese across the length and breadth of our country, creating impacts that allow for our people to live comfortably with the confidence that there is a bright tomorrow, there is a bright today. That will undoubtedly continue so long as our government, the PPPC government, remains at the helm, driving prosperity for all Guyanese. Mr. Speaker, in 2020 and 2021, our government presented budgets that sought renewal. In 2022, we continue our story with a budget focused on perseverance, that is, pressing forward to build anew. This year, 2023, our $781.9 billion budget will focus on sustainability, and that is building a prosperous Guyana that will remain for future generations to come. Mr. Speaker, it is absolutely no surprise to us on this side of the House that the opposition came to this budget debate every single day of this week to preach that this budget has nothing for ordinary people. Of course, Mr. Speaker, one would have wasted their thought thinking that even one member of the opposition could see the bigger picture and comprehend the benefits of this budget and how it will transform Guyana and the lives of every Guyanese. Mr. Speaker, but this is totally understandable because they could not devise any program or policy during the 5-year term that they were in office that could benefit the people of this country. Instead, they were focused on what they could grab for themselves and their cronies, neglecting the people of this country and coming now to pretend that they care about us and the people of Guyana. Mr. Speaker, they think people will forget what they did to our economy and to our democracy. But, Mr. Speaker, the APNU-AFC will forever be remembered as the riggers, the destroyers, the out of touch, the visionless. They had their chance and they blew it. There is no coming back. No coming back for the APNU-AFC. You already divorced your APNU and AFC. So there's no coming together and coming back. Mr. Speaker, I noticed the leader of the opposition sitting there, sulking on that side of the House, probably thinking about the next blank check Are you thinking about the next blank check that needs to be filled out in his own handwriting? But I feel his pain. Imagine being the leader of a party and sitting among people who have no respect, regard, or loyalty for you, with daggers aimed at your back. That must be tough, Mr. Speaker. That must be tough. All of us listen to the recording, and the people on your side listen to the recording too. That should not happen to you as a leader. Mr. Speaker, I wish to submit to the honorable member who is leading the opposition, the leader of the opposition. Both of us are brothers from Linden, and I will have your back. I will look out for you against those fifth columnists in your midst who are trying to derail you. Mr. Speaker, it is the same APNU, AFC government that did nothing for the people that is coming here now with their bare faces to say what is not enough and what should be, when they had 5 years and did little or nothing but run our country into the pits. Watch people go through hardship and did nothing to improve people's lives, but instead found ways to make life harder for the ordinary people, for the ordinary man, while they enjoy their feasts. Suddenly, the opposition knows what is good and what isn't. What is the better level of increase? What is the better percentage to increase salaries and pensions and everything by? And to reduce taxation by?
Full of ideas.
Full of ideas. And what isn't, but failed to deliver the promises in their own manifesto. Mr. Speaker, one thing is for sure. Our government, as you've heard from the Honorable Anil Nandalal Jr.'s presentation, is on track to delivering what is set out in our manifesto. 100% completion of what is set out in our manifesto by 2025, by December 2025. That is our commitment to the people of Guyana. Mr. Speaker, I need to do some house clearing in terms of rebuttals before going into my substantive presentation. I will start with your manifesto, Elections 2015 Manifesto, a partnership for national unity, Alliance for Change, coalition. And Mr. Speaker, it is a good read, but I will bring attention to page number 8. Page number 8, APNU AFC Action Program for the first 100 days.
100 days. Proceed and embarrass.
And I will not read out all 21 items that are listed there, but the ones that are important.
Read a few.
Number 2, I may have to use my glasses. Significant salary increases for government workers. That is in 100 days.
What?
Including nurses, teachers in primary, secondary, and tertiary education, security personnel, and civil servants on the traditional payroll. Mr. Speaker, what we had in that 100 days was 50% salary increase for the ministers of the government.
What? In some cases.
And nothing for what they set out here.
Shame.
At number 7, return of television stations to Linderners, an area that is close to my heart. Mr. Speaker, they never return it. It took the Honorable Minister Kwame Mokai to deliver on this promise made by the APNU AFC
What? Thank you,
to their own people that they claim is their stronghold.
Thank you, Bob.
Mr. Speaker, waiving of duties on fuel, tools, and small-scale mining equipment bought by identifiable holders of small concessions. We did that, Mr. Speaker. It was not done in the 100 days. establishment of a national cane workers and cane farmers conference. This is the biggest joke for the 100 days. Because what they did, not in 100 days, but it was conceptualized in that 100 days, is that they sent home 7,000 sugar workers. They conceptualized that in the 100 days. Establishment of a national rice farmers and rice millers conference. But, Mr. Speaker, the 100 days passed, and the leadership of the APNU said plain to the rice farmers, government had no business in rice production. Just imagine. A code of conduct will be established for parliamentarians. Listen. Established for parliamentarians, ministers, and others holding high position in government public office to abide by, including mechanisms for demitting office, if in violation of the code of conduct. Mr. Speaker, what we had was a cover-up policy for ministers who were fingered in corruption. Ministers who were fingered in corruption. Fingered. It's not a violation of the House, Mr.
PM, beep, beep. The beep is for a non-parliamentary word.
Contrary to the rules that is expected of ministerial appointments. Mr. Speaker, there's another one here. National Youth Council will be convened and its mandate, terms of reference, and program of action produced for endorsement at a National Youth Conference. I will leave the Honorable Leader of the Opposition to pronounce on that when he takes the podium. I say nothing more on that. Liberalization of the telecommunications and ICT sectors. Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to have the Honorable former Minister of Public Telecommunications in the House and to say to her, the process was deliberately delayed by this very minister. You deliberately delayed the liberalization of the telecommunications and ICT sector. You did that. And Mr. Speaker, adoption of a long-term sustainable economic development plan to realize the vast potential of this country. Mr. Speaker, it's quite obvious that was not done in 100 days. That had to wait until August 2020 when the PPP Civic assumed office. So, Mr. Speaker, they failed in the 100 days, but our vision, our plans are now being vigorously implemented in a sustained manner through budget 2020, 2021, 2022, and now 2023. Your manifesto, your failure, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, continue with my house clearing. I sat in the House. Maybe I should deal with the last force, Mr. Speaker. Instead of going from the start, I should deal with the last force. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Volda Lawrence, just spoke, and that is fresh in your memory. And, you know, Mr. Speaker, I only did Economics 101 and 102, and Accountancy 101 and 102, and Politics 101 and 102 at university. But, you know, I will leave the schooling in economics for Minister Ashley Singh when he takes the podium. Minister Lawrence, Honorable Volda Lawrence, I must commend you, however, for your impressive display of your lack of thorough understanding of the macroeconomic concepts that she tried to grapple with and tried to communicate to this noble house in a most confused manner, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, we can go to this. It's only 101 pages. And on page 8, you said, and you pronounce about non-growth in the non-oil sector at A 3.1. Mr. Speaker, at the time of budget 2022, it was anticipated that real gross domestic product will grow by 47.5%, and the non-oil economy expanded by 7.7%. It is now estimated that our economy grew by 62.3% in 2022 in real terms, with a very, listen carefully, very strong expansion of 11.5% in non-oil real GDP. Mr. Speaker, why do we have the members of the opposition come into this house, having supposedly read this document and trying to fight against it? Mr. Speaker, the honorable member mentioned about inflation, COVID and supply chain challenges led to inflation throughout the entire world. Every high school student knows that, Mr. Speaker. And I commend an article for the honorable member to read, a simple article. And it says, the cost of misreading inflation. The 2021 surge in global shipping costs was a canary in the coal mine for the persistent rise in inflation. I say no more. Just go and do some reading. Mr. Speaker, the honorable member talked about the tremendous increase in the capital budget. But she needs to tell us why we had that tremendous increase in the capital budget. We're not only building roads, because she seems to feel it's only roads. We're not only building schools, hospitals, and have an expansive housing project. We are building a brand new bridge across the Demerara River. We are constructing a power plant, a gas power plant, and a natural gas liquid plant as part of the gas to energy project. That takes tremendous amount of money. It may sound mind-boggling, but just wrap your brains around the figure. Wrap your brains around the figure. 2023 budget is transformative. Keyword, look it up, transformative. As a former Minister of Health, I'm not surprised of your misunderstanding of diseases, especially when you seek to use the term Dutch disease. But then again, I will leave the schooling to Dr. Ashni Singh to explain to you what the Dutch disease is really about. We cannot tell the Guyanese people not to buy more vehicles. However, we will build and expand the roadway, the infrastructure, the primary and secondary network for people to drive their vehicles.
That's correct.
Simply put, highways to happiness.
Honorable Prime Minister, that's the famous title of a famous manifesto.
I remember, Mr. Speaker. Sorry for plagiarizing. Mr. Speaker, earlier, we were assaulted by the Honorable Cathy Hughes today in this noble house. She started by asking for 15% reduction in University of Guyana fees. When you were part, you, Honorable Katius, were a minister in the cabinet that raised the fees by 35% during your tenure. You were part of that decision. All are involved, all are consumed on the other side. You are all responsible for that injustice on the people of Guyana. She also talked about increases for all workers. The Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I stand on a point of order 41.6.
I said the cabinet, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I think the Honorable Prime Minister said all of you over there. And I want to...
Okay. Mr. Speaker, I stand corrected. All of the members on the opposition who were part of that cabinet are responsible for that injustice on the Guyanese people. Mr. Speaker, again, the Honorable Katius talk about salaries increases for all workers over the period 2015 to 2020, and how it was some 70% increase in salary. But they took away the bonus from the discipline services. They took away the Because We Care cash grant from their own supporters' children. And then they claim that they had no fiscal space, but yet they were spending over 1 billion, feasting themselves within their offices and whenever they congregate.
That's correct.
50% salary increases, as I mentioned before, for cabinet ministers in less than 100 days. Mr. Speaker, I did not receive any deposit in my bank account when on the 5th of October 2020, I sat in the sitting room of the official residence of the President, of the Prime Minister, I stand corrected, and signed liberalizing the telecommunications sector in Guyana. I did not receive any deposit in my account for that act.
That's right.
That was redundant to the benefit of all the people of Guyana, including the opposition.
That's correct. Who received the deposit here?
Mr. Speaker, I do not know who received the deposit for delaying that. Several deposits, but that will come out. With time, the truth will be revealed. Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Member talked about the Guyana Forestry Commission had lots of money in their bank account. But the Honourable Minister of Natural Resources would tell you different. The Guyana Forestry Commission at the time when we assumed office had no money to pay its staff. Had no money to pay its staff. Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Katius again talk about the Minister of Education and some family member of her running the learning channel. But Mr. Speaker, we had a learning channel run by PhDs holders when we took over. We had some 40 academic programs on the channel when we took over. In under 2 years, Mr. Speaker, we have now done more than 1,800 programs, completing all of the grades 5, 6, and much of nursery, primary, and secondary. And Mr. Speaker, then the Honourable Member went on to talk about the HPRC. Honourable Katius went on to talk about the Hinterland, poor, remote communities internet connectivity project, and how she had a ceremony, a sign-in ceremony, sign-in for the Honourable Minister. honorable member of the House, Honorable Cathy Hughes, a signing ceremony where some 17.1 or above million United States dollars was signed to commence this program sometime between 2015 and 2020 when she was in office. And she tried to speak glowingly about this project. Mr. Speaker, when I assume responsibility for public telecommunications and ICT, I summoned the project manager and asked for a status update on this project. I was told that the equipment is in the country and it is stored in some containers in the parking lot of a certain hotel. I asked to visit the parking lot to see the equipment. And lo and behold, the same weekend, the project manager moved all the items to a hurriedly rented bond in Diamond, a Chinese shop, supermarket, converted to a bond overnight and stored the equipment. Nothing was done. You signed the document, the money was made available, the equipment was bought and placed in the bond after being stored in containers. Mr. Speaker, from then to now, and I wish to remind all that the HPRC was conceptualized by a previous PPPC government.
That's right.
From then to now, and I have one here for you, honorable member. 100 ICT hubs on track to be operationalized by January 2023, equipped with 20 laptops, printers, and scanners, 32-inch television, surge protection, security locks, fans, cubicle chairs, installation of 75 photovoltaic system of 15,250 watt solar panels, digital inverter, power cubes, batteries, surge, and lightning protection. 70 ICT hub managers will be trained in January 2023 in areas of computer literacy, report writing, internet and email PV technicians, PV basics, effective communication, 25 photovoltaic technicians trained in areas of solar installation. And Mr. Speaker, over 98,000 residents in 200 hinterland, poor and remote communities will benefit from this project. This is a benefit that the people should have had before 2020. This is a benefit, however, we're committed to ensuring that the people will start enjoying it in this year, 2023. Mr. Speaker, the honorable member went on to talk about not getting onto the internet. Mr. Speaker, when we assume office in 2020, hinterland communities were provided with a 1 megabyte per second internet connection via satellite. Residents struggled with slow loading times, buffering, and limited access to online resources. However, in 2022-2023, my government has upgraded and will continue to upgrade and continue to maintain this system. And now they're having service of 4, not 1, but 4 megabytes per second internet connection, 4 times what you give them, with committed bandwidth, without any data caps or limits. Residents will have access to a much faster and more reliable internet service that can support online video conferencing, education, and content downloading. Mr. Speaker, this upgraded internet will also provide improved access to education for students, especially those benefiting from the Gold Scholarship. Mr. Speaker, these are some of the corrective measures that we had to take in order to improve the lives of the people of Guyana. Mr. Speaker, we hear about the opening ceremony and the unveiling of plaque for an infectious disease hospital at Liliendal. But no one was allowed to have a conducted tour of that facility after the unveiling because there was nothing inside the building. Nothing inside the building. At the time when COVID-19 pandemic was ravaging the people of Guyana.
Honorable PM, time is of the order now. You'll need an extension to conclude.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to ask that the Honorable Prime Minister be given time to conclude his presentation.
Honorable Prime Minister, you have another 5 minutes to conclude your presentation.
Mr. Speaker, the failed implementation of any project to repair the Linden-Suzdijk Highway must rest on the chest of the leader of the opposition. I know he was not a member of the parliament at that time. But to claim that Region 10 is your stronghold and you choose not to repair that main artery, in military terms, that main supply route to the people of Linden, a tongue, a region that is dear to my heart, is a signal failure of the APNU, AFC, to deliver to what they claim to be their constituents. Mr. Speaker, we have secured $120 million United States loan to fix once and for all that highway. A brand new highway for the people of Linden. Region 10, 150. I stand corrected. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable, and I come into you now, the Honorable Ramjatan like to talk about their being the ones to have us enjoying revenue from oil and gas. But that oil and gas approval for the exploration was signed in 1996 by the late President Janet Jagan. Oil was discovered 1999, I stand corrected, not 1999, 1996. Oil was discovered in 2015 during the tenure of President Donald Ramatar. And everything was going good. The only wrong thing that happened, and I have 3 wrong things that happened here, Mr. Speaker, to educate you, members of the House, or to remind you. The controversial PSA was signed by the coalition APNU government. The best deal was not negotiated for the people of Guyana. Again, you failed the people of Guyana. And to add insult to injury, Mr. Speaker, they attempted to cover up the signing bonus, the $18 million that was bequeathed to the people of Guyana. They attempted to cover that up. 4 ministers of their government told the people of Guyana they never heard about, or they don't know about the signing bonus. And then one minister, when he was pressured, said he thought it was a gift. Mr. Speaker, then they proceed to railroad and rush through the Natural Resource Act. at the time when they were a caretaker government, and the only constitutional obligation was to hold elections in 90 days. But Mr. Speaker, again they failed us, but again we took corrective action. Today we have an NRF Act that is transparent, that has all the trappings in keeping with the Santiago principles, and has heavy obligations placed on the shoulders of the Minister of Finance to report on every deposit and every withdrawal from that fund. And Mr. Speaker, you know, I just want to end by saying the Honorable David Patterson, honorable, he's still honorable in my books. He came to this house and he lied about the major.
B. PM, we can't use.
He misrepresented the facts on the Amelia Falls project. Mr. Speaker, I know I've run out of time, but all the documents, all the evidence are there to show that the Amelia Falls was a viable project, and had we continued along that development trajectory that was set out by the previous PPP government, we would have had 165 additional megawatts renewable energy delivered to the people of Guyana, especially the people of Linden and Bartica 5 years ago, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to end with two quotes. The first one is from Phillips of Miletus, the Greek philosopher and mathematician, who said, and I quote, "The most difficult thing in life is to know yourself. Is to know yourself." End of quote. You as opposition members of this House must come to the debate with truths and facts, regardless of how painful it may be to you. And the second quote, Mr. Speaker, from Noam Chomsky, American linguist and a philosopher in his own right. And he said, and I quote, "Nobody is going to pour truth into your brain. It's something you have to find out for yourself." End of quote. Mr. Speaker, the people of Guyana are beginning to find out that the truth for themselves. They're beginning to find out the truth for themselves. We have an opposition that failed the people when they're in government. And I wish to end by saying, Mr. Speaker, they must remain on that side of the House and allow development to take place in Guyana. All we're asking you is to don't be detractors to the development process. Be part of the development process. Because I believe, again, in another proverb, an African one this time, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Let's go together. Let's support this budget and develop Guyana. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.